Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 14 years now, we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Bryce Henson, the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, the world's fastest-growing fitness bootcamp franchise. And having over 10 years plus experience in the fitness industry and owning 2 Fit Body Bootcamp locations, Bryce's passion is spreading fitness to the world. I'm going to talk to Bryce about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. Stick around because we have a great show.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 14 years now, we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Bryce Henson, the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, the world's fastest-growing fitness bootcamp franchise. And having over 10 years plus experience in the fitness industry and owning 2 Fit Body Bootcamp locations, Bryce's passion is spreading fitness to the world. Hi, Bryce. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Marty, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, this is my pleasure, Bryce. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from today, Bryce?
I'm in Southern California in Orange County, which is about 60 miles south of Los Angeles.
Is that where the headquarters is also located, Bryce?
It is. I'm actually working from home today, which I do on Fridays, but our headquarters is based in Chino Hills, which is just a suburb, close to LA.
I want to talk a little bit about the history of Fitness Body Bootcamp, but it seems like, you're a big part of this history, Bryce. And I think, how, maybe we can go back to the beginning of, how you even became aware of Body Bootcamp. I know there's a story there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll give you a high level, just the nature of our organization. Started in 2009, initially as a licensing program, and we ran it. Our founder, his name is Pedro Cooley, business partner of mine, dear friend and mentor as well, and ran it very successfully for a few years before we realized that we were selling territories and really acting as a franchise. So the FTC reached out and gave us that clarification. So we actually had to adjust course, I guess not necessarily rebrand, but reclassify from a licensing model to a franchise model. So from a franchising perspective, that's how we got started. But for me specifically, I'm originally from the Midwest, and I love it there, great people, but not necessarily the fitness capital of the world. So in 2005, I moved to LA, and there I was, 22 years old, excited to be in LA, but not a lot of experience, business experience, life experience, and I wasn't fit. And there was many more dark days than there was bright. And after a couple of years of living there, a fortuitous situation happened. A good friend of mine from college who was a fit guy, he wasn't on the cover of Men's Health, but he could have been. We ended up living together, and after a few months, I finally mustered up enough courage to ask him, hey, Adam, can you show me, how to lift weights and eat clean? And that's what he did. And that actually started my own transformation in 2007, and I stripped about 20 pounds of body fat, put on about 20 pounds of muscle. And that was great, but for all your viewers listening at home, the value of fitness. It's not just the aesthetic, it just changes your life. And that's what it did for me. So I went on this path of, okay, how can I give this gift back to other people? So the next logical thing to do, even though I had a successful sales career, was to get certified through the gold standard in certification, which is National Academy of Sports Medicine. That's what I did, and didn't really know how to grow business or whatnot, although I checked the box there. And I think what I did is I updated my Facebook profile to certified personal trainer, and I started receiving ads from this guy named Bedros, who was talking about growing a fitness business, gaining more clients, how to convert them to long-term clients. And that's basically when I went down a rabbit hole for about a year and a half of researching and learning about this concept called Fit Body Bootcamp. And that led me to 2012 when I decided to take the leap of faith and become a Fit Body Bootcamp franchise owner, which really is a long-winded answer of giving you that insight of the story and how I, arrived into the franchise.
Great story, Bryce. And, in thinking about, how you got started, what did it do for you? I mean, did it give you confidence? So you said you were selling, and then would you say is that confidence was one of the things that it kind of brought to you?
Oh, goodness, Marty, I think that's exactly it. Gave me more mental clarity, ambition, and then the biggest driver is confidence, right? And at the time, I mentioned I had a successful sales career, but I really overlooked the fact that it was a small company I was working for based in San Francisco, and I was working from home with a remote sales team, and I went from one of the least performing sales rep to the best performing sales rep in the organization within a 12-month clip. And I cite that because the foundation fitness gave me, it just gave me that vibrance and exuberance and confidence.
I saw too, somewhere in your literature, Bryce, it's mentioned, I guess currently 45% of the American population is statistically obese. I didn't realize that's a high number. So why is obesity still, after everything we know, why is it still a problem in this country?
Well, great question, Marty. It's not a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of fortitude, accountability. And I think that's really why, the Fit Body Bootcamp model works so well, because it's a coaching model. It's not a renting access to equipment and weights. Because if you ask the average person on the street, should I eat a tub of ice cream or chicken salad, they're going to tell you chicken salad is going to be healthier. But it's a matter of not only knowing, but it's doing. And I think, especially as we're at this tail end of the COVID situation, what really my heart hurts is, no disrespect to anyone who has, caught COVID. It's certainly a very sad situation. But if you look at the data, the vast majority of people that have had the worst effects of COVID have been compromised immune systems or obesity. Because when a person is obese, everything has to work harder, your heart, your organs, just to keep you at baseline. And, because of the obesity pandemic we're in, it's causing major complications. And unfortunately, the clip is just rising at about 2.5% per year.
Yeah, I was wondering too. I guess, the statistics will probably be out there someday, Bryce, maybe even out there now, but we know, several people that gained a lot of weight during COVID, when everybody was kind of like locked down, and, I'm always curious, how COVID did impact, people's weight and things like that. Fitness Body Bootcamp is a different kind of a concept. I mean, when you're describing the concept to someone, Bryce, I mean, how do you typically respond to the question?
Well, the short version, I would say it's group training or personal training in a group setting would be the easiest way to describe our model.
Yeah.
So it bridges the gap because in the left side of the industry, the fitness industry, you have, access to weights. So a big box gym, which, range from $10 to $50 a month. But really, there's no coaching, there's no accountability. It's just like, here are the weights, good luck. And the problem with that is while, yes, it's cheap, most people are not fitness professionals. Most people are not spending time designing workouts and all that. They're busy. They have life and their kids and their school and their work. So that's one aspect of the model. On the other side of the model and the industry is personal training, which is one-on-one, gets results, high, strong accountability. But the problem is personal training can cost anywhere from $60 to $100 a session. If you go 3 sessions a week, I mean, you're looking at $1,000, $1,500 a month just for the training. So what Fit Body Bootcamp does is bridges that gap and provides that personal training in a group setting at a very affordable rate, and you get all the results and also more fun, community, and energy in the sessions, just training a one-on-one, because I've done that from experience.
Who would you say your customers are, Bryce? I had a chance to, go on the website. I mean, but have you narrowed it down to, a specific like demographic, whether it's age or anything like that?
Even more so, actually, Marty. We call our avatar Mrs. Jones, and Mrs. Jones is in her 40s. She has a few kids. She's about 40 pounds overweight. She's worked out, but probably last time was in high school. And truth be told, she probably doesn't love working out. She just knows she needs to, and she's getting at a point in life where it's getting harder. The pounds are packing on. The life is getting busy. Her husband doesn't look at her the same way anymore. And she doesn't love working out, but she knows she needs to. And that's basically our prototypical client, or our avatar, which we call Mrs. Jones.
Right. How is Fitness Body Bootcamp using technology today, Bryce? I'm sure it probably came in helpful during the COVID situation, which we could talk about. But how to use technology today?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I'll give you like a little bird's eye view. One of our core values is embracing and driving change. And actually, our founder, Bedros, created a technology company before. So we're very, technologically fluent. So we're not averse to it. In fact, from a digital marketing perspective, I would say our use of technology in order to grow the brand has been one of the biggest reasons we've been able to scale to hundreds of locations in a very short period of time. Right. We've also had some big wins with technology, which I'll talk about in a second. But we've also, humbling ourselves, had some losses as well. And in fact, about 3.5 years ago, we migrated to a platform, which I'm not going to say any names. Okay. And it just wasn't, from a CRM perspective, it wasn't the fit that we were looking for. And, truth be told, we could have done more testing, and there's, a few things at play. But the reality of the situation is it was advertised as a unicorn, and we were sold a donkey. And, at the end of the day, taking ownership of that decision, it was a tough migration when we basically converted hundreds of locations to that platform. And, that was a challenging time. So for any of your viewers listening back home, the message there, and certainly there's big learning lessons. Probably the best learning lessons from mistakes is just making sure you do your diligence, make sure you don't take anything at face value, make sure that you have a test group. And now through that pain point, everything that we do, specific to technology or not, before we roll anything out brand-wide, it always goes through a pilot and a testing program in order to make sure that it's going to be successful. And to kind of close the loop and finish that thought, case in point, is through COVID, we actually pivoted to an online kind of coaching platform that allowed us to provide results from home when we were shut down for a few months, and we onboarded our franchisees brilliantly from the miss a few years prior, so that learning lesson was delivered. And then secondarily, because of that miss, when we transitioned to a technology from a CRM perspective that wasn't a fit, it actually gave us visibility to what we actually need. So we went out and recruited a technology partner who actually has been able to build a custom solution for us. So stage one or phase one, We migrated all of our hundreds of locations to the CRM or lead management aspect last year. And then now phase 2, we've migrated about 15% of our brand, but we still have hundreds of locations that through October, November, and December, we're going to migrate on this, intuitive technology that, is a lead management, follow-up, texting, email, and it's just very specific to Fit Body. So this all to say, Marty, while we've had a lot of success with technology, big picture, we've had one big miss, but that learning lesson actually catapulted us, and now we're going to be better off for it, in the next, months or weeks, months, and years to come.
And that's the benefit of franchising too, isn't it, Bryce? Is that, your new franchisees, they don't have to make the same mistakes, right? I mean, it's the beauty of the franchise model is that those mistakes don't have to be duplicated.
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting, Marty, you mentioned that because, now we've implemented in the last 2 years, which is a talking point that I want to hit on, a coaching and profitability team. Our coaching and profitability team is really, we call it CAP for short, but there are franchise business coaches, 6 of our best owners, historically over the last decade, one in Canada, one in Texas, Michigan, California, South Dakota, were our most successful franchisees. Now they're coaching our brand, and they have individual owners under their management. And we're actually continuing to build systems and processes to support our franchisees.
Right.
And for our new franchisees, I mean, they are just so blessed because we've had, a decade of trial and error of what hasn't worked. So that way we can actually implement, create, and deploy things that do work based off that value of franchising that you just hit on.
What's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you, Bryce, since, becoming the CEO of Fitness Body Bootcamp? I'm sure you probably have hundreds of stories, but does anything, kind of stand out over the years?
Well, I mean, the elephant in the room is COVID, and certainly COVID swept the world. And, in all honesty, it's been very, tragic and challenging for many, obviously, people, but also industries. Some industries have thrived for it. Our industry specifically, I mean, if you look at it on paper, we are a brick and mortar franchise. So it couldn't have happened to a worse business model. So by far, that has been the biggest challenge / interesting thing. But to your point earlier, and having a mindset, a very strong leadership on our team, owners that have been in the brand for a long time, our coaching and profitability, our owner and our founder, and then myself, who's been in the brand for a long time, we're able to adapt, overcome, embrace technology, add a new platform, and be able to coach our clients virtually, both from an exercise workout platform and a nutrition platform, all because of that pivot. So, that was definitely by far the biggest curveball thrown at us, and I know there's going to be others to come, but from my tenure as CEO.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Maybe we could talk a little bit about your franchisees, Bryce. I mean, what do you look for? What's important to you in taking on a new franchisee? Are there any types of characteristics or traits that you look for?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll kind of throw 3 high level, and then also just depends on what the specific franchisee's plan of growth is, whether it be one location or multi-location owners. But first and foremost, they have to be passionate about health and fitness, because if they're not passionate about health and fitness, I mean, it's a service-based business, and people can sense that. So it's not a transactional business. So that's really, really important. And then the secondary thing, you got to be passionate about the people business, because we are primarily, and this is what we teach our franchisees, primarily we are not in the fitness, coaching, nutrition, or health business. Those are all things that we do. However, primarily we are in the people business, and, community and relationships are the fundamental building blocks. So really we look hard and recruit hard and vet hard around making sure that they're fitness, health, coaching, and people oriented. And the last thing that we look for, and I kind of touched upon this a little bit, is are they coachable? Because really what our model is, we're in the fitness industry, but we're in the coaching aspect of fitness industry. We're not a big box gym where it's like, here are the weights, go have fun to our clients. We are in the, hey, here are weights, but here is basically the program we're running for today. This is the demonstration, explanation, the workout. This is how we're going to coach you to better success. So because we're in the coaching business, not only from the franchisee perspective to their clients, we also look for franchisees that are very coachable, because especially in today's day and age, and really hitting on that technology, point really quick, hitting at it hard again, things change and happen so fast that the people that we recruit have to embrace and drive change, have to be coachable, so that way we can thrive together.
Seems like I hate to say there's always going to be a market for your business, Bryce. But, we were talking earlier, saying that, 45% of the American population is obese. So, it seems like there is always going to be a market for your business, and again, hopefully in the United States, those numbers go down a bit, but maybe, you could talk a little bit about how does the training work when you become a new franchisee? Again, you probably had to pivot a little bit, during COVID, I imagine, but, what was it like before, or what's it going to be like in the future?
Yeah, great question, Marty. I would say, it first starts out foundationally with our rigorous vetting process that takes months, and that's only possible through strong internet marketing, because our goal is to cast a big, giant net, because there's going to be some frogs you got to work through, and making sure that we have a good amount of interest that are coming in that we can vet out or we can screen. And our vetting process usually takes months before we award a franchise. Right. Then from there, that onboarding process, that training process, they get introduced both to their CAP coach, which I'll touch on in a second, but also their onboarding specialist. And their onboarding specialist is really the operational, person in the process. So they're doing territory mapping, finding locations, going through our newly formed LMS or LMS training system. So going through business systems, onboarding training, getting your insurance, looking for your location, negotiating your lease. All those things, like on the operational front, that usually take the first few months. So that's the first point once they become a franchisee. But then also, as I mentioned, they're also introduced to their CAP coach, or coaching and profitability coach, who is one of the 6 most experienced and successful owners in our brand. And the first probably 4 or 5 months of that introduction, the onboarding specialist is really kind of majorly the focal point, but the coaching and profitability, or CAP coach, is there just providing guidance about once a month for a coaching call. But then as the franchisees lease a sign and then start the marketing for their grand opening campaign, which we call our launch program, that's when the CAP coach really kind of starts to dive in to help that marketing effort. We have a marketing team that actually runs the ads and fills up our clients' locations before we even start. We actually open with a 6-week challenge, and our target is to get at least every owner 500 leads, and starting with 100 challengers, to make sure that they streamline their success, because let's face it, momentum is a real thing. So we want to get them started strong to begin with. And before that, actually, I overlooked the fact of not only they working with their CAP coach and going through the onboarding specialist, but then we do a 3.5-day on-site intensive university, and it's actually broken up into 2 parts. The first part is about 40 hours of video tutorial training on our philosophy, on our nutrition coaching, on our fitness coaching, all the systems and operations. But then the second part is actually that on-site. So they come out to Southern California, or one of our 6 locations that runs our CAP coach locations, and they actually get to experience 3.5 days. That starts with a welcome dinner to kind of connect and build some relationships with the new franchisees, so they have a network. Then we're introducing them on the they're shadowing our camp, they're meeting clients, they are actually training on the mic, off the mic, and of course very baby steps. We have a process for that, but that way they can actually get a hands-on experience, because getting that confidence, as we talked about earlier, is half the battle. And it's one thing learning, but it's the other thing doing. When you do, you gain more confidence. We practice sales training, roll calls. So all that's packaged in that 3.5-day, on-site training. So that way they learn all the classroom, the X and O's of the business, but they also get real field experience, and that really sets them up to launch their location. So that would be the launch of it, and then to put a bow on it, then they have continuous access to our CAP coach, who basically is their business coach, guiding them every step of the way. And, typically speaking, just like babies, they need to crawl before they can walk, and then walk before they run. Typically in the very early stages of a franchisee, even after the location launches, they're on a coaching call at least every other week, but probably once a week for the first few months. And then after they get more reps and more confidence, then it turns into every other week or once a month. And then our most experienced owners really check in about once a quarter. And again, it just depends, but really that's the overall kind of onboarding, training, and then ongoing support that we provide our franchisees.
Wow, that's a lot of training, Bryce, which is fantastic. What about what were your franchisees, were they doing in their past lives? We had I forget. I think the gentleman's name was Tom Ho, and he had this story. He was one of your franchisees, and he had something happen to him. I believe his brother died at a pretty young age, and he decided to get in. He just decided that was the catalyst for changing his life. Yeah, it was a moving story, when he told it. And I said, so, what were some of your franchisees doing before becoming a franchisee?
Yeah, great question. I lost a little bit of audio, but I think I got the overall question.
Oh, okay.
But if there's any clarifying questions, please let me know.
Yeah.
But speaking actually of our coaching profitability, our CAP coaches, Tom Huff is actually one of the 6 coaches on our team. He's based in Richardson, Texas. And he actually, you're right, his brother passed tragically years ago, and he was inspired to basically, launch, his business because of that. And he's been incredibly successful. In fact, he just moved in to a new franchise or to a new location because he outgrew his first location. So Tom is a really good friend of mine.
Wow.
But that also, remind me the punchline. Forgive me, it cut out a little bit. What was the punchline of the question?
Yeah, so what were some of your franchisees doing in their past, like before they became franchisees? There's probably some diversity, I imagine, Bryce, what they were doing before, they're nurses or police officers or, what were some of them doing before becoming a franchisee?
Oh, yeah, great question. And our brand has evolved so much. I mean, I think when we first started, it was really geared at personal trainers. And, the overhead was extremely low and times were different, a decade ago. Right. But as our brand has evolved and matured, it does vary, but our kind of avatar for a franchisee, his name's David. He's, in his mid-40s. He went to college or a higher level of education. Mm-hmm. He's actually had a successful career in terms of normal, standards, if you will. Has provided good income for his family, has a mortgage, has a house, been successful in his career. But, as his life has kind of, transpired, he's in his 40s now, and he realizes, like, man, I'm working for the man. I'm punching a clock. I don't have any sense of fulfillment. I don't have any sense of freedom. Right. And, here I am unfit. So actually David goes through a physical transformation, joins a local gym or a Brazilian jiu-jitsu or a group, fitness, place, and then has this transformation for fitness. And he just has this like invigoration, like, oh, wow, this is actually what I'm called to do. I want my freedom. I want to buy back my time. I know I'm meant for something more. And that's how the story typically goes. So that would be our avatar per se. And we have other stories as well, to your point. And it's just we're getting a lot of influx. And speaking of COVID, but a lot of government workers, firefighters, police that are really, anti the vaccine mandates are coming out. And they've probably been thinking about it for a long time, but because they're being forced, they're actually looking for other opportunities to, to have to take back the pen, write their own story, have that sense of freedom, and really blaze their own path. So those are the two, really prototypical type of franchisees that we attract within our brand.
Yeah, I imagine all your franchisees probably have some great story. I remember I was reading about this last week about Coach Brittany. I know she has a podcast, for Fit Body Bootcamp, but I know she had a story too. And there's probably hundreds of those stories, isn't there, Bryce? Whether it's your customers or your franchisees, and I think that's really what makes your model very interesting. Maybe you could paint a picture of what is a typical day like as a Fitness Body Bootcamp franchisee, because you were a franchisee, so you can talk about that.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, Marty, I still am, if you can believe. I still have 2 locations.
Wow.
I scaled to 5.
Great.
I'm a busy guy, as you would imagine, but I have an incredible team and incredible base of clients. And I've scaled to 5, but just with my responsibilities at headquarters and assuming the CEO role, I've focused to 2. But it really just depends. And I know that's probably not the answer you're looking for, but we really have 2 types of franchisee owner. The one who really wants to be an owner-operator. So they're in the gym like early morning, and at least to start, because the evolution of the business changes. And I'll even use my own story. I was the owner-operator. I have a fitness background. So for the first 6 months, I joke around with my clients. I lived there. I pitched a tent in the corner and really trained every session. I was the marketing guy, the sales guy, the janitor. And many times this is how a lot of, our owners start out, or at least have that owner-operator mentality. So when starting out, early mornings, we're in the fitness business. So, our sessions start at 5 in the morning. They typically finish mid-morning, about 9:30 or 10. So there's a break in the day for the business operator to do marketing and, kind of help work on the business versus in the business, if you will. And then the evening sessions are in the afternoon or evening, about 4:30 p.m. to about 7:30 p.m. So that's typically when sessions resume. So that's kind of the schedule, and that's really, the day in the life, at least to start for a new franchisee who has that owner-operator mindset.
Right.
There's the other type of franchisee who comes in more the investor type. And, this model works for us, but we only actually recommend and award franchisees with the investor type who have business management and leadership experience, because the systems, the operations are there. However, if you don't have strong leadership skills or management skills or previous experience, it's really going to be hard to really execute or have your team execute if you plan to be an offsite owner. So that said, that's what we look for, and we do have plenty of owners that take that route. So that's kind of the two different paths. But of course, as you evolve, the goal and what happens is, especially with the owners who take action, follow the systems, and really, gain success, they're able to buy back their time. They're able to hire a team. They're able to, specifically the owner-operator, they're able to hire coaches, hire a facility coordinator, facility leader, admins to do the day-to-day, when typically that owner, the last thing they give away is really the marketing, the vision on how their facility is going to be ran. So I know that's kind of a convoluted and gave you a few different looks, but, it really does depend on, number one, whether the owner wants to be an owner-operator or an investor, and then also, two, depends on where they're at in the stage of the business. As you would imagine, owning any business is hard, and I'm not going to say ours is not, especially getting it off the ground. So depending on where they are in the stage, as time goes on, the schedule lightens and it becomes more of a working on the business versus in the business.
That's great. The majority of our listeners, Bryce, we call them aspiring entrepreneurs. Most of them, they know they want to get into franchising, but there's so much out there today. I think they say there's something like 2,500, 3,000 different types of systems out there. From everything you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise, under the assumption that most of them don't know where to begin?
I think you got to follow your passion first and foremost. And I know it's very cliche, but there are a lot of other great type of franchise systems. And being very transparent and honest with you, when I first started looking at the franchising world, even though I got into fitness and that was kind of my calling, I was looking at some other models, and I saw the baby boomer population, so I was looking at nursing homes and things of that nature. I just didn't have a passion for it. And I knew that, if you study any really successful and rich person that has enough money that they're not worried about just making ends meet, typically speaking, money doesn't buy happiness, right? It's the fulfillment they're after. So I realized at a young age, certainly you need a certain amount of money to be fulfilled and happy, because otherwise if you can't pay your rent, that's not a good situation. But once you make, over studies like $75,000 a year, if you make another 75 or 150, that's not going to fulfill you. What really is the type of work you do. So franchising, or at least FitBody called me because I'm passionate about fitness. So if you're not passionate about fitness, if you're not interested in health and wellness, if you're not interested in coaching or helping people at that level, FitBody Bootcamp is definitely not the franchise for you. On the contrary, though, if you are passionate about fitness, if you have desire to help and coach, and you don't have to be the best person at fitness or the best coach or the best nutrition consultant, that can come with time and reps, but you have to have that passion there. So that would be what I would lead with first, because, the mornings are early, the nights are late, and that goes for, FitBody Bootcamp, but for any business model. That's why an entrepreneur has some challenges, but that's also the value of the franchise model is you're executing against a proven model. So that would be the first thing. And then the second thing is, do your diligence. In any given market, there's definitely a few different aspects or there's a few different options within your market of different franchises you can look for. So you got to find one that you really resonate with, that has your same vision, core values. And I think those are probably the biggest two things that I would look for when you're doing your diligence.
Yeah, I think that's a great response, Bryce. So I could ask you the last question. As the CEO, Bryce, where do you see Fitness Body Bootcamp? If you could look into a crystal ball, maybe 5 years down the road, where do you see the organization?
We're going to be cruising. I guess we evolve as a brand. Embracing driving change is a core value of ours. So we're going to continue to adopt the technology, and whether that be AI to better our clients' results, whether our clients' experience.
Right.
Our business metrics, we want to cross the 1,000 location threshold in North America, and certainly COVID wasn't kind to any brick and mortar business, but and we contracted a bit, but we've stabilized and just giving you visibility. In 2020, in the tail end of that, when the world shut down, we awarded 6 franchises the whole year, and bless those franchisees' souls who had the vision to know that it wasn't going to last forever, but just also giving you visibility now. In the last 6 weeks, we've also awarded 6 franchises. So we're, the path is, the trajectory is strong again, and we're going to continue to embrace and drive change. We're going to continue to adapt technology, and we're going to continue to focus on our client experience and coaching. But really, at the end of the day, going back to it, these are all tools that we're going to use, but we'll never lose sight that first and foremost, we're in the people business. So the relationships, the community, that's really what separates FitBody, and that's my vision as we become even a bigger player in the global stage.
That's terrific. What's the best way, Bryce, for our listeners to get more information on FitBody Bootcamp? Of course, there's a franchise opportunity, but even the service itself, are there any websites you can kind of direct them to?
Go to my personal website, realbrycehenson.com, and when you go to Real Bryce Henson, all my social medias are there, and then you can click on the coaching programs, whether if you're interested in the fitness facility to actually get fit or to become a FitBody owner, you can look at those particular applications at realbrycehenson.com.
That's fantastic. Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking to you today, Bryce, and I'd like to already invite you back over the next year or two as you continue to grow, because I think you have a wonderful franchise opportunity.
You got it, Marty. It was great being on the show. Pleasure is mine, and I know and I hope your audience got value today, and I'd be happy to come back anytime you need.
That's fantastic, Bryce. It's great to talk to you, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time, we've had some incredible quotes on this show. So picture this scenario. You just started a company, and you need to hire a chief marketing officer, chief financial officer, and chief operating officer. How much do you think it'll cost to achieve this task? What if you could start a company that immediately has these positions already filled in place and ready to go? Would you be interested? Well, today's great quote in franchising comes from Ben Crosby of Franchise Development for the Drip Bar Franchise Opportunity. And Ben discusses this notion on this Great Quotes in Franchising podcast. So here we go with Ben Crosby of the Drip Bar Franchise Opportunity. Advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? Because there is so much out there today. There's more to choose from. It could be a little confusing to someone who's new to getting involved in franchising. So what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
Yeah, be open-minded. Talk and learn through the business first. We on the brand dev side things, most should be looking to educate the consumer first and the prospects, because at the end of the day, if you understand and have a passion for whatever business it is, you have a higher chance of being successful. Franchising is a great opportunity because you're really partnering with a C-level team. Confirming that they're actually a C-level team is very important as well. When you're a prospect looking around, you don't want to be sold, a false hope, false promises. But if everything is checks off, you appreciate and understand the business, and you like the team that's there to support you, really in the early times, focus on working with the team. Get rid of all the distractions in the periphery. Work with the team, be transparent, be motivated to be successful, and a good franchise system will give you all the tools in order to be successful.
Yeah, I haven't heard that before in 14 years, Ben. As you mentioned, to partner with C-level partners. You know what I mean? That's right. You don't get that experience when you go into your own business. And I think that's really. If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Ben Crosby of the Drip Bar Franchise Opportunity, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com and go to our franchise interviews listed alphabetically page, or you can go to our franchise interviews listed by category page, and you can go under health and fitness. And lastly, we'd just like to thank everyone for making this podcast such a big hit, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.